All right, we're back at NAB here with Steve Cooperman from Panasonic, this time talking about the new color viewfinder. So Steve, tell us about it.
Well, we're pretty happy about this. This has been the biggest request for all of our high-end digital cinematography cameras. So where is your color viewfinder? So now, at the first time at NAB 09, we're showing this. It's the AVC-100 color viewfinder. It's a list price of under $8,500, shipping in June, and it's compatible with our VariCam 3700, VariCam 2700 behind me, as well as our HPX 2000, HPX 3000, even our DVCPRO tape camera, such as our HDX 900 DVCPRO tape camera, and our VariCam 27H classic tape-based camera. So pretty excited about that. Compatible across the board, compatible with our shoulder mount size cameras. It's an LCOS-based system, beautiful color representation. Has a built-in heater even, which is pretty interesting. Comes up sometimes with people shooting in cold climates based on our response time, so you get quicker responses in cold areas. And we're just finally happy to have it. Talking to a lot of folks on movie sets and scripted dramas and whatnot. They love the cameras, but they've been saying, well, we want to have a color viewfinder. So our factories come through with a very beautiful implementation, shipping in June.
What's new in these newer economy P2 cards?
Thanks, Steve. Yes, we're pretty happy about these. We will be shipping next month the 16 and 32 gig economy P2 cards, substantially lower price points. The 16 gig card will be $420 list price. The 32 gig card will be $625 list price, also shipping in May. And the 64 gig economy P2 card, E-Series card, will be shipping in August at a suggested list price of $998.
That's great. So what makes the economy P2 card the economy P2 card?
Well, the first important point to get across is these cards still handle the same exact frame rates, formats, compatible across the whole P2 line, so you're not going to notice any negative performance issues. And these are actually faster transfer P2 cards. These are actually 1.2 gig a second transfer speed. So these are actually faster P2 cards. The only difference in terms of any difference that anybody might notice if you record for an eternity is these would be considered, the factory rates these as 5-year P2 cards if used every day, where you fill them up 100% every day and then reformat them. So that's just a rough way they rate the rewrites. See, one of the things about the current P2 card series, factory actually rates it at a 100-year life, meaning you could literally write it every day and format it for 100 years. Has a huge amount of write capability. But also, not only the reliability, but because of that huge amount of writes, that's one of the reasons why the price point is where it's at. These new cards use multi-level cell memory technology, whereas the current P2 cards use single-level cell memory technology. And so, it enables you to put more bits into the same memory cell, makes it more efficient, but which subsequently lowers the price of the card. So again, if you use these cards every day, you're looking at 5 years. Let's say you shot every weekday and you didn't shoot the weekends. Well, you're saving about a third of the year. Now you're roughly 7 years or so.
So how do you know when it's going to die? Like, what tells you, what
well,
makes
there's a
it
couple
die,
of things.
first of all?
First of all, these cards are guaranteed to be the same exact performance during the life of the card as the current P2 cards. So you're not going to have a situation with dropouts or faulty memory cells or things like that. We have a free software that'll be available for offload, downline, or download on our website, Panasonic.com/broadcast at the time we ship the cards, and it's called P2 Formatter software. And it's literally a gauge. If you look at a gas gauge, or you look within a P2 card, if you look at your LCD display of a P2 card, and you could see from right to left, you go from full to empty, just like a gas gauge. And it's that same logic. So you occasionally look at the card within the P2 Formatter software to get a rough idea of where you are.
So but physically, Steve, what is happening to the card to make it burn out, if you will, to make it not last 100 years?
Well, it goes back to, it's not necessarily burning out per se, but it goes back to the current single-level cell technology used in our ultra, long lifetime current series P2 cards. Just has more memory rewrites. That's basically the nature of single-level cell technology. It enables you to have more rewrites. Multi-level cell technology is more price efficient, but has less writes. So that's not necessarily a function of Panasonic, that's a function in general. One of the things that people say to us is, why are there other memory type technologies out there that might be less expensive? And generally one of the reasons, besides maybe being a poor brand of product, is multi-level cell technology. But so what Panasonic has done is taken the best of both worlds. So we have multi-level cell technology in the new cards, which allows us to have a much lower price point. We still have, super reliable P2 cards, the super, the very nice die-cast construction, so it's powerful. Embedded logic into the card, and it's a fast transfer speed. But also with the backup, so that you're not going to use the card to the very end like you might with a compact flash type, lower cost card, and that's where you hear of disasters. You're able to monitor the card as it's approaching the end of life. And then eventually, if you have it in your camera, eventually you're also able to monitor it within your camera. And eventually, after 5 years, assuming the scenario I mentioned, 100% every day, eventually you're notified that the card is approaching an end of life, which is your notification that it's begin time to start. You should begin looking for a new card. Doesn't mean it's going to turn off that next day. You're still going to have a lot of additional rights left, but that's your warning. And then even as it gets to an actual end of life, and again, this is a key point, because Panasonic has manufactured these so that they can guarantee the reliability. As it gets to the end of life, where you're no longer able to record on the card is still accessible. That means you're no longer recording new content on it, but let's say you did have existing content on it, you would be able to put it into a P2 drive or other workflow device to pull off any existing content. So you're not going to be stuck in a situation where a card no longer records and you can't get the stuff off of it. But again, by monitoring your card through the P2 format or software, and we're not talking day one, but you have an idea, you're able to track to get a rough idea of where you are. And again, this is substantially lower price points. I think it's going to help people for a whole line of P2 products, whether it be the, the handheld 170s or the new 300, or these new P2 Vericams.
So is it a kind of situation where you get the warning and then eventually you just can't record to it anymore? The camera prevents you from recording once it reaches a certain level?
In essence, at a certain time point. But it's not a situation where one day you get a warning out of the blue and the next time you push record, you're done. You're done. Again, you should, one of the things about these cards, and this is a big difference between lower cost compact flash type cards where there is no warning. You have an idea by putting it into your computer with the software where you are within the relative life cycle. And you don't have to look again every day. And then at some point, you get a warning within the camera itself notifying you, not that the card is done, but notifying you that the card is approaching an end of lifetime cycle, so that it's a good time to look at getting another card at some point, and then eventually it comes to an end of the record capability.
Now, Panasonic is very well known for its eco ideas, the fact that it's very consumer friendly. What happens to the card once it can't record anymore? Can you eat it? Can you smoke it? What happens to it?
You can do both.
You can do both?
Yes.
And honestly, is there a recycling program? Is there a way you can bring it in?
Panasonic does have recycling programs, but what I would say even more than that, like I said, that you're no longer able to record on the card. You are still able to access the card. The card does actually become a nice long-term archive if needed, because you still have whatever content you had on that. So if you did have content on that card, you could have it remain on your shelf, still being able to access that, within a workflow. So that is one possibility.
So, but right now there isn't a trade-in program where my card just ran out. I bring it in, I get a credit towards another card, or is that part of any discussion?
Not right now. And again, we haven't even begun shipping these cards, and we're not going to have people coming to end of life on these cards for a long time.
And the shipping date is what exactly? Do we know?
Shipping days for the 16s and the 32s are May, next month, and the shipping days for the 64 is August. And the really cool thing about it is, I have a 16 in my hand. Let's say with a 64. With a 64 gig card and the 5-slot P2 Vericam, you're going to get 80 plus minutes a card in 1080 24p. That means you're getting a 400 plus minute load for under $5,000 of master quality 1920 by 1080 10-bit content. So whether you were looking at our higher end digital cinematography tools like the Vericam 2700 or 3700, or our smaller handhelds, or even our new HPX 300, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities and excite our customer base.
And now, we know that Fujifilm is obviously a partner in P2, and they've made P2 cards. Are they going to support the E-Series cards as well?
Actually, I'm not sure right now about that level of support. Right now, as far as I know, it's Panasonic for the current E-Series of cards. And it's important to note, we will still continue selling the A-Series of cards. And both cards, again, fully compatible during the life of the card, same performance. Actually, the new E-Series has higher transfer rate. For somebody who never, ever wants to think of ever having to get a new P2 card, you still have the A-Series cards. We will still continue to ship both, and they're still compatible throughout our whole line of products.
Fantastic.
Perfect. All right, Steve. Well, thanks for spending some time and chatting about the P2 cards. From NAB, for Tech Media Planet, I'm Steve Barris.